Welcome to Excel. In this webinar, we are going to be focusing on the data ribbon and the what if analysis options. Underneath the what if analysis, you have scenario manager, goal seek, and data table. You can see on my Excel workbook that I have set up, I have 5 different tabs down here. So we're going to be going through 5 different activities with the scenario manager, 2 with the scenario manager, 2 with goal seek, and 1 with the data table. So we're going to start off with the scenario manager. And what we're going to do is assume that we're comparing bringing our lunch to work versus eating out or buying your lunch. Just go ahead and put those in, and if we eat out, whoops, what percentage of the time are we eating out? So the first thing we're going to do is assume that maybe bringing your lunch might cost $3. Buying lunch might be $12. We'll go ahead and format those to currency. And then we're going to assume that we're going to do this maybe 50% of the time. So I'll just put in 50%. Whoops. For eating out. Okay, so we're setting up our scenario here. We're either going to bring our lunch, we're going to buy our lunch, or we're going to eat out. The next thing I want to do is put in a monthly cost. So in all of these scenarios, we're going to look at multiple different scenarios. Bringing our lunch, buying our lunch, percentage of time that we do that. The first thing that I want to do is to create a formula that's going to calculate how much we would spend and or save by bringing our lunch versus buying our lunch in the percentage of time that we do that. So the first thing we need to do is create a formula, and I'm going to assume that we're doing this all 30 days. You could do it 30 days, you could do it 22 days if you just wanted to do it, the typical Monday through Friday workday. But we'll go ahead and include all 30 days. So I'm going to include my 30 days, and I'm going to multiply that times D2, which is our percentage of time that we are going to be eating out. And when I select D2, I also want to make this an absolute reference. Because we are going to be using the scenario manager, so we want to make sure that the scenario manager is locked into D2 and it's not moving to another cell or column or row or column. Okay, so equal 30 days times the percentage of time that we eat out, and then we are going to multiply that times C2. So that first calculation is what we're going to get is how much we're spending if we're just eating out. But then we need to add into this formula the scenario that we're not always going to eat out. So I just did a plus, and I'm going to open my parentheses again, and we are going to subtract the information from, again, we need to select D2, and then we're going to multiply it times bringing our lunch. So what we've done is we've created a formula that's going to calculate how much we are going to spend per month, assuming that we're bringing our lunch and that costs $3 a day, that we're buying our lunch at $12 a day, and we're doing this for 15 days. Out of the month, we're bringing our lunch, 15 days, we're buying our lunch. Okay, so with this scenario, with this scenario, we are spending $165. Now I can go in and I can say, okay, well, what happens if I'm spending $5 a day when I bring my lunch? So it automatically calculates all that. And what happens if I decide I want to eat out 75% of the time? And we can do this, but we can also, I can sit here and I can put in different figures for bringing my lunch, for buying my lunch, for eating out. But we can also use the scenario manager to set up different options for ourselves. So when I go back over to the data ribbon and to the what if analysis, I'm just going to select my first selection here, which is scenario manager. And when I go into the scenario manager, I am going to set up some different options. Okay, so let me go back in. Whoops. Hang on, getting some dings here. There we go. So back into my scenario manager, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a scenario. And the scenario of this first one is going to be maybe just eat out 10% of the time. And with that, we need to tell it that the change in cells, right now it has J2 through K3, which is incorrect. We need it to look at the data in B2 through D2. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and it says, okay, what in these three, what is your scenario going to be? Right now I've got $5 for bring my lunch, I've got $12 for eating out, and I've got that at 75% of the time. But this first scenario, we are going to put in 10%. So there's our first scenario. We're going to add a couple more scenarios and then we'll look at them, and then we'll go ahead and add some additional scenarios. So I'm going to go ahead and click on add, and this one I'm going to put eat out 50% of the time. And the changing cells, it has B2 through D2, so that's correct. We're going to go ahead and click on OK. We'll leave the buying the lunch at 5, the eating out at 12. We're just going to change our percentage to 50%. We've got that one. We've got one more we want to add in, so I'm going to go ahead and click on add. And this one's going to be eat out 100% of the time. Now keep in mind that you can put any percentages in here that you want to. We could do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's whatever you want to evaluate. So I've got that. It's got the correct cell range in here for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. I'm going to change this from 75% to 100%. Okay, so I'm going to click on OK. Let's go in and test what we've done so far. So when I click on OK, it says, all right, now which scenario would you like to look at? So if I double click or select eat out at 10%, you can see that it automatically changes my data on my spreadsheet. If I double click on 50%, it says, okay, so we went from 10%, which was $51, to 50%, which is $135, to 100%, which is, oh, hang on, I'm going to have to close that up. So I need to increase my column width. Whoa, okay, that percentage is wrong. So let's go in and edit that. So let me go ahead and go back to the scenario manager. Going to select eat out at 100%, and we're just going to go ahead and edit that. This information is correct, so I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and just put a 1 point in there. Go ahead and click on OK. Now let's select 100%. That looks a little bit more accurate. So that is $240 a month. So again, you range from $51 a month, $135 a month, to $240 a month, depending on what percentage you want. Okay, so let's go in and add a few more. This scenario is going to be eat out and low. So in other words, it's not going to cost us very much to eat out. Next thing you want to make sure is that your cell range is correct, B2 through D2. So we're good. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. My taking the lunch or bringing the lunch is at $5. That's fine. What we want to adjust is our lunch that we are buying. So perhaps we're buying our lunch and we found a daily special for $6. So that's going to be our low lunch. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. It's going to add that fourth scenario for us. So I'm going to go ahead and add another one. And I'm just going to say eat out, maybe medium. Medium price. We'll add that in there. So we know what that means. We'll go ahead and click on OK. And maybe a medium price is $14. Okay, so we've got that one set. Going to go ahead and click on add. And put one more in there. Eat out. And this time we're going to go someplace fancy, so it will be a little bit higher. We've got the correct cell range in there, so we'll go ahead and click on OK. And maybe this time scenario will be $24 for our buying our lunch. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Now, when I select Eat Out Low, it tells me that at 100% of the time, I would be spending $60. At medium, I would be spending $14 a lunch. I'd be spending $300. And at $24 a lunch, I would be spending $600. So those are 6 examples of the scenario manager with just a real simple what it would cost you to eat lunch out versus staying in or bringing your lunch to work or making your lunch at home. Okay, so let's move over to another scenario. And this one is going to be a car loan. So in a car loan, the first thing that we want to put in is our rate and then our term, our principal, the payment, and the total cost. Whoops. Move that over here. Okay, so underneath rate, I'm just going to put 10% for the first one. Our term will borrow the money for 60 months. Maybe the principal is $23,000. Go ahead and format that correctly. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is to create a formula for payment. And there is a function built into Excel, and that is just simply equal PMT. And when I select that built-in function, it gives me below what I need to put into my formula. So the first thing that I need to do, equal PMT, the first thing I need to do is to include my rate. So that is going to be B3. And then we're going to have to divide that by the 12 months in the year. And then we're going to put a comma in. And then we're going to select our term, which is in C3, put another comma in, and our principal, which is in D3. So when I go ahead and hit the enter key, it's telling me that my payments are going to be $488.68 a month. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to calculate our total costs. So that's going to be equal to, and that's just we're going to multiply E3 times C3. So we're multiplying our payment versus our terms. When I hit the enter key, you can see that we are paying $29,320.92 for the vehicle that is $23,000. So now you can play around with this and look at some different scenarios. What if the interest rate is 5% instead? Okay, so that brings our payments down to $434.04. Our total cost $26,042.30. You know, you can look at different principles. Let's say that we get to the dealership, we decide that we're spending $23,000 and we end up spending $28,000. So you can sit here and you can put in all kinds of different scenarios. However, like we did with our lunch, the next thing that I want to do is build in some scenarios. So maybe for high, medium, and low. So let's go ahead and go back to our data ribbon and to the what if analysis into our scenario manager, and we'll just build 3 different scenarios here. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll type in maybe 3%. And our changing cells are going to be B3, C3, and D3. So I'm going to go ahead and you can manually type that in, or you can see what I did. I just went out and I selected it with my mouse. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And you can see that in B3 we have 5%. We need to change that to, I believe I said 0.03. 60 months is correct. $28,000 is correct. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK for a second. And I want to double click on the 3%. I just want to test this. So when I double click on the 3%, you can see that it altered our rate to 3% and it changed our payment and our cost. So let's go ahead and add a few more scenarios here. We'll add maybe a 6%. And in our scenario, we are going to change the 0.03 to 0.06. We'll go ahead and click on OK. We're going to add a few more scenarios. So I'll click on Add. This time it might be 9%. And we'll go ahead and change our rate to a 9. Click on Add. We'll just do one more, maybe at 12%. And 0.12. Okay, so now we have 4 scenarios on this worksheet for our car loan. So we can compare the 3% to the 6%, to the 9%, and to the 12%. So if you're looking at different scenarios and you don't want to, let's say that you're in a meeting and there's different scenarios that you specifically want to look at, you know, rather than typing in those different scenarios, you can use the scenario manager and use that to show your data. Now, the other thing, I want to go ahead and go back to the lunches because there's something else about the scenario manager that I want to share with you. If you don't want to do this live, you can come over here and click on something called summary. So if I click on summary, it's going to, I'm just going to get a scenario summary. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. It adds another worksheet to our workbook. So now you see down here at the bottom, our very first worksheet says scenario summary. And that includes all of our data for eating out at 10%, at 50%, at 100%, eating out at a low cost, a medium cost, and a high cost. So it automatically puts this into data into another worksheet for us to utilize. So this is something that, again, you can copy and paste into PowerPoint if you'd like to. Same idea for the car loan. If I come back up, we'll go ahead and grab our scenario manager again. The other nice thing about the scenario manager is if you open back up this worksheet, these scenario managers do not delete. When you save and close this, as long as you save it, and close your workbook, the next time you refer back to your scenario manager, these built-in scenarios will still be there. If you don't want one, you could delete them. I can just come over here and click on delete, and the 12% is gone. So we'll go ahead and grab our summary for the car loan. And note that when I'm saying scenario summary, it's grabbing the total cost. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and it gives me my total cost for 3%, 12%, or 6%, 9%, and 12%. So that's nice that it does all of that work for you. You don't have to graph anything. It automatically puts it into a table for you. Okay, so that is the scenario manager. The next thing I wanted to look at is the next option in the what if analysis, which is goal seek. So in the goal seek, the first example that I'm going to use is just some grades. So I'm going to type in assignment and grade. And then maybe we had a paper and we had another paper and a quiz and a lab and a final exam. Okay, so we didn't do very well this term. So on our paper, we got a 58, a grade of 58%, and we went up a little bit on our second paper and we got a 70. Let's say on our quiz, we got a 72, and in our lab, we got a 60%. So what I want to do next is I want to calculate what my final grade would be if the term ended today. Without taking that final exam, I want to know what would my grade be. So I'm going to come down to final grade. I'm going to type in equal, and there's a built-in function again. Whoops. And that is average. I'm sorry, it's type out average. So when you type out average, you can double click. And what I would like to do is average paper 1, paper 2, quiz, lab, and the final exam, because we are going to put in there the scenario for taking the final exam. So I'm going to go ahead and select from B2 down to B6. When I hit the enter key, the average function is automatically going to add together all 5 of those grades and divide them by 5, giving me a current percentage that I have in the class. So right now, I have a 65%. So I have a solid D in the class without taking the final exam. Okay, so what I want to use the what if analysis for is in this goal seek. when I select that, it populates this window. And what I want to do is I want to tell it to set cell, and it's actually B7. It put cell B6 in there because I had that selected when I went over to my what if analysis and selected goal seek. So I want to set cell B7 to the value of, let's try for a 73. Let's see if we can get from a D to a C. So I want to do that by changing what is in my final exam. So what the goal seek is going to do is it's going to tell us what we need to achieve on our final exam in order to get a 73 as a final grade in the class. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. You can see it's calculating, 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 and we need to get 105 on our final exam, which is not realistic. Because the final exam is only worth 100 points. So let's go ahead and delete that. Let's go back one more time. I'm going to go up to goal seek. And we're going to set cell B6. This time, I'm going to change the value. Maybe we'll lower our expectations a little bit. Maybe we'll go for a 70 or a C minus. By changing cell, and we need to have it look at what grade we're going to get on that final exam. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Whoops. This needs to be B7. So set cell B7 to a 70 by changing B6. Okay. And we're off calculating. So now, at least it's realistic. We need a 90 on our final exam. Maybe not realistic considering the grades that we have right now, but at least it's within reach because it's under 100 points. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's see how close we can get to 100. So set cell, and that's going to be B7 to, let's say, a 72. So we set a 73, we set a 70 by changing cell B6, and we would need exactly 100 to get a 72%. So you can kind of see what we're doing here. So I just used the grades as an example for the goal seek. There's all kinds of different things that you can do with it, from catering to looking at different events. Maybe you're planning an event, maybe you're planning a party. You can put all kinds of different scenarios in there. So I've got one more scenario for the goal seek, and I went ahead and typed this in ahead of time because there is quite a bit of data there. So what I'm looking at is I have a company and I'm looking at my 2020 projections. There are 5 different ways that I make money through training, software, hardware, install and repair and updates. To date, I have made $54,000 on training, 28 on revenue, on software, 31 on hardware, 14 on installs, and 86 on repair and updates. So if we create a formula to add all of these up, because we do want to know what our totals are. So we'll just go ahead and put in the label total over here. And we'll just do an equal sum. All right, so to date, our revenue totals $213,000. So now I'm going to put in our goal revenue and see where we are. What are our overall goals? What are our 2020 goals for each one of these, for training, software, hardware, and so on. So maybe my goal for training is 98,000. For software, it's 49,000. For hardware, it might be 62,000. For installs, we might be looking at 32,000. And for repairs and updates, we're looking at 99,000. Okay, so what do we have so far year to date? We'll go ahead and add those up, hit the enter key. And so far we have 340,000. Now let's say that our goal for the year was not $340,000, but it was $350,000. So what I need to do is take a look at each one of these training, software, hardware install, and repair and updates and say, okay, you know, where right now, you know, I'm at 86,000 already, and it's only July, and the goal revenue is 99,000. So if I want to, you know, make my goal is $350,000, maybe the repair and updates is something that I could target in on, or, you know, maybe doing a little bit more marketing for training, whatever the case may be. But we'll go ahead and key in on the repair and updates. So I'm going to come back over here to the data ribbon, and we're going to go back to the what if analysis and to goal seek. So this time we're going to set cell C10 to the value of 350,000 by changing cell C9. So when I click on OK, it's going to do some calculations for me. It's going to tell me what I need to do for to achieve the goal of $350,000. Now you may be asking yourself, can't you have it? Can't you select all of these and have the goal seek increase maybe by a certain percentage of each one? You can only do one item in the goal seek, but we can certainly change our goals. So let me go ahead and cancel that out and we'll undo that. So let's go in and target on install this time. So I'm going to go to what if analysis and to goal seek. So we're going to set cell C10 to 400,000 by changing cell C8. So when I click on OK, it's just going to calculate that out for me so that I know how much more I need to revenue I need in order to get to that $400,000 goal. Okay, so those are two of the three. You've got scenario manager, you have goal seek. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to look at our data table. Let me just grab some information. From another worksheet, so I don't have to type all this in. Okay, so looking at the data table, what I have here is a company that I made up, and we are selling plastic bottles. We're selling water bottles. So right now we have a quantity of 40,000. Our unit price is $6.50. We have a fixed cost of 38.4. Our unit cost is $3.78. So we could, we could sit here and we could use this data that we're going to calculate with, and we could continue to change those items and look at different scenarios that I have down here in a data table that I set up. What if we sold 20,000 bottles at $7.50? Or what if we sold 45,000 bottles at $5? Or what if we sold 5,000 bottles at $9.50? Well, I don't want to keep having to make those adjustments to my spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is I am going to insert a table that's going to show me everything without having to calculate everything again. Okay, so we're going to start off down in revenue. And in revenue, what we're going to do is we are going to multiply the quantity times the unit price. Okay, and that gives us a revenue of 260. Then we're going to go to our fixed costs, and I'm going to type in equal and a minus sign, and we're going to go up to C5 that has our fixed costs, and we're just going to bring that down below to our scenario. And then we're going to go to our variable cost, and our variable cost is going to be equal, and then C2, our quantity, times C6, which is our unit price. And that gives us 151. Let me look at that. Variable cost C2 minus C6. Whoops. Okay, yeah, we're good. So then our net profit is going to be the summary of these three. So I'm just going to type in equal sum, open parentheses. I'm going to go ahead and add those up, and I get $70,400. Okay, so in order to use my table, what I want to do in C15 is just tell it to be equal to my net profit. So I can get that down here in my data table. From there, I am going to go ahead and highlight from C15 all the way down to L26. And then I'm going to come back up to my what if analysis. I'm going to go to my data table, and it says, okay, what row input do you want? I'm just going to scroll up a little bit so you can see. So in the row input, I want my quantity, and in the column input, I want my fixed costs. So when I click on OK in this data table, it's automatically going to calculate anywhere from 5,000 water bottles to 45,000 water bottles, ranging in price from $5 to $10. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Mm, hang on, that just doesn't look right to me.
So mark the columns of the cell as unit price, C5.
Well, let's make some changes and see if I can figure out what's going on here. Mm. Let me give you this one more shot. So go up to the data table. We want C2 and C5. Well, let's go ahead. Yeah, I guess that does look right. Let's go ahead and format that. So in other words, what we're saying in this table is if we sold 5,000 water bottles at $5 a piece, we'd be making 17,345. And you can see how it increments. Now, the kind of the cool thing, if you go back to your home ribbon and to conditional formatting, you can set some color scales to this. So if I go back, if I highlight that and do some color scales, you can see that it starts off and this kind of says, you know, it increments and it turns different colors as we're making more and more profit. So that conditional formatting is kind of fun. So that is go back to the data. We looked at the scenario manager, the goal seek, and the data table. Since we have a little bit of time left, I would like to go back and just look at some of the scenarios. So I'm going to go back to the scenario manager, and I want to go back to summary, because you might have noted on summary, it said scenario manager or scenario pivot table report. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK to show you what that looks like. When I do that, it automatically opens up or gives me another worksheet with my pivot table information on it. So here it gives me all of my data. Eating out at 10% is $51. At 100% is $240. 50% is $135. Eating out so I think it was $24 that we put in there, is $600 a month. The median was $300 and the low was $60. So with the pivot table that it automatically inserted for you, you can also go to pivot table analyze and you can input a pivot table chart. So you can have the Excel analyze the data for you and chart it for you if you would like. So there is our chart, just like any other chart. You can make all kinds of different adjustments to it. If I go back up to design, you can make all of those changes, but you can take this chart, copy and paste it into Excel, or use it however you want. That's just a nice little additional feature of using the data or the what if analysis tool. All right, that's all I have for you. Thank you for joining me and have a fabulous day.